Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo. I wanted to bring you some exciting news. I'm not sure if it's breaking per se. This live stream that I'm showing here on the screen was a live stream that Matrix Games did on December 3rd. So, what was that? Thursday, where they announced four new games, and you see there the interviews with the creators of those games. So they announced four new games, and you're seeing the pictures pop up here. Um, and either in a brilliant twist of marketing, or maybe it was just an accident, I don't know. They also announced a fifth game that will be starting beta in January of 2021, so next month. And that was also super exciting for me. It's one of my favorite games of all time, a sequel to one of my favorite games of all time. Um, so in this live stream, and first of all, I just want to say hat tip to Matrix. I always want to give Matrix a shout out. That is because of course, it's not them alone, but they shoulder a big burden in keeping wargaming and turn-based strategic gaming alive and well. They give a lot of smaller developers a chance. They support the games. They market the games. And Matrix really does a great job of keeping wargaming alive on the PC and just turn-based gaming in general. And so I always want to give the proper amount of love to Matrix because I do love what they do. So the four games that we're going to be talking about here, we've talked about War in the East 2 before, and that's kind of the big one, right? That's the headliner, War in the East, considered maybe the greatest war game of all time. It's right up there. Its major competition is maybe its sister game, War in the Pacific, that we're currently playing on the channel. But War in the East is a fabulous game, and we will be covering War in the East 2. We're going to be doing Let's Plays, we're going to be doing tutorials, Let's Play tutorials, however you want to put all those words together. The point being is we will be spending a lot of time on that game on Strategy Gaming Dojo. So let's get into the games themselves. The first game, of course, we've talked about on the channel before. It's War in the East 2. So excited. 2x3 games, Gary Grigsby's company. Uh, Joel Billings running this project, it seems, a longtime creator with Grigsby. This couldn't be more anticipated for me. You're taking one of the great war games of all time, maybe the greatest. Its major competition is its sister game, War in the Pacific. You're taking one of the great all-time games and making a sequel to it, taking everything they learned from the War in the East. Of course, you're seeing pictures of the original War in the East, which actually makes me want to go play that game now. It's just so fantastic. Um, it looks like what they're doing is they're fine tuning. It's not as if it's a new game. Now, I know that they're saying that, they've kind of overhauled the whole system, but from what we've seen in War of the East 2, a lot of these graphics will be very similar. I do know that they have reworked the air war part of the game, which is a positive. The air war in War of the East 1 is pretty abstracted. The Air War and War of the West, War in the West, I know people complain about, but I actually thought was a better system, or at least a little more realistic of a system. And it sounds like they're going to bring some of the concepts of the Air War from War in the West and transfer it into War in the East too. So, hey, I can't wait. We're going to cover this game extensively on the channel. We're going to tutorial it. We're going to let's play it. We're going to let's play tutorial it. Whatever word salad you want to make of those, we're going to do it on the channel because, it's maybe my favorite game ever or second favorite to War in the Pacific. So that's War in the East 2. Pretty exciting stuff. Now, the second game that we're going to talk about is another exciting game, Decisive Campaigns. Now, this is going to be Ardennes Offensive. The game you're seeing in front of you is Decisive Campaigns Barbarossa, which was a fabulous game. It's a lot of fun if you've never played it before. It was really one of the very first war games that also added in kind of an RPG element. So you were not only trying to win the war, take territory, do all the things that you do in war games, you were also part of a command structure, part of the Nazi command structure, and you had to keep Nazi high command happy. And so there's this kind of role playing aspect where you're making decisions that maybe aren't always the best for the war or aren't always the best for your career, but you make those and it gives it kind of this role-playing game aspect. And so these games have been very popular. There's been Decisive Campaigns, the Blitzkrieg, there was Barbarossa. They've done several different iterations of this game, and this one will be the Ardennes Offensive. So that's great because this is a great game. And if you like maybe a little role playing with your war games, it's definitely a game for you. The third game is Warplan Pacific. And if you haven't played Warplan and you're seeing Warplan Europe, Warplan has a lot of similarities to Strategic Command and the Strategic Command games, which I really like a lot of. Now, I must admit, I have not played Warplan Europe, although it looks very interesting to me because I love big, grand, strategic World War II games. And just listening to the interview with the developer, he, did some work, I think, with the Strategic Command people. So it's not surprising this seems to have some elements, similar elements. But also he said something that really caught my interest, and that is that one of his big influences was World in Flames, which is the very famous Australia Design Group's World War II game that was a huge board game, massive board game. It's since been ported over to the PC, but it's a single player with, or I'm sorry, there's no AI. So basically, you have to get someone online to play you. It can be difficult to find, someone that knows that game. But I love that game, and he's talked about how he tried to model War Plan after that, and that really piqued my interest. So now I do think I am going to go back and play War Plan. They're bringing War Plan to the Pacific. It sounds like, he's a kind of an indie developer, a single person developer, and it sounds like he learned a lot. I know that he has been very responsive to player concerns or player notes about the game and has tried to make various improvements that have been suggested to him. So that's always good in a developer, right? And Matrix believes enough in this system and in him to give him the reins to an entire Pacific War game, which I of course will be interested in. So I think we maybe on the channel might go back and play some War Plan, dig into it, and see what it's all about. So that was game number 3. The fourth game that was officially announced during this live stream is Flashpoint Campaign's Southern Storm. Now you're seeing in front of you Flashpoint Campaign's Red Storm, which was a great game, a lot of fun. The kind of the innovation that this game brought was there's a command delay. You have to give your orders. They go out, sometimes it takes a little while to get there. And it has these ever sometimes they can be increasing, sometimes they can be declining loops of orders. It was just a very interesting concept. Now, the Flashpoint Campaigns games simulate a Cold War gone hot, a World War III kind of scenario in the 80s. Red Storm, I think, kind of took in the northern part of Germany, central Germany. Southern Storm is going to take that southern what would have been the Southern Front in a World War III, and take this system and kind of put it down there. Now it'll be interesting to see how they change or what they improve on. This game is pretty finely tuned already. I mean, it had a lot of patches and updates, and it's a pretty solid system. But if you're very interested in orders and how they actually would happen in real life, where you're sitting in a command center and giving orders, and you have to worry about whether your communications are up to snuff or if you're, getting the message out to where it should be. This game may interest you quite a bit. It's probably a game that we'll play on the channel at some point because it is a very, very solid game. And that was the fourth game that Matrix announced officially. And finally, the big surprise announcement, and I said earlier in this video, I'm not sure if this was marketing, very clever if it was, or it was just a slip and they kind of put it in there and what weren't quite sure what they were telling the world. Uh, and that's about Distant Worlds 2. Now, there have been rumors out there that Distant Worlds 2 may be coming. If you never played the original, it's now called Distant Worlds Universe because they made like a definitive edition of all the Distant Worlds, the patches, the updates, and everything else. They put it into this great definitive edition called Distant Worlds Universe. Now, when I said earlier that War in the East and War in the Pacific are my favorite games, they are, but this game was and is the greatest 4X game ever made, in my opinion. It is amazing, the scope and the scale of it. This is, if Stellaris is kind of beer and pretzel space, this is space on a whole different level. Now, this game's very interesting because I've never really seen a system like it before. You could, if you want to, just play kind of an individual ship or a squadron of ships in this game in a whole universe, you can do that. Or if you want to play the Grand Emperor of a huge empire, you can do that. Or you can do everything in between. You can automate everything in this game if you want, or nothing. It's just an amazing game, and I can't wait for Distant Worlds 2 in January next month. The beta will come out. We will be covering that from start to finish here on the channel with, again, tutorials, let's play tutorials. So anyway, it was a very, very exciting live stream. I thought it was a nice event for Matrix to really kind of pump up the developers and, get some publicity out there for these games. They're all really good games. Now, I can't speak directly to Warplan, but I've heard from other people that it's a solid game, still needs some work. The other games are classics of wargaming or of Space 4X, and I just can't wait for them to come out. We'll be playing War in the East 2, Distant Worlds 2 at least, and probably Flashpoint and Decisive Campaigns if I can find enough time. So anyway, thank you for joining me here at Strategy Gaming Dojo. I just kind of wanted to give you this preview if you didn't have a chance to watch the stream from Matrix, because these are the kind of games that we play here. So as always, thank you, and I'll talk to you next time.